Just before we start, I want to let you know that we have several members of the staff here who basically are going to be taking comments, taking your suggestions, your input as to the draft ordinance. So someone will always be taking those comments. We also have the city manager here, Marcela Piedra, the chief of police, and Liz from the city manager's office. So feel free to ask questions, but we do want to ask you that to keep your comments at a 3-minute minimum to allow everybody who wants to participate to have an opportunity to come up here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to give you a brief, just PowerPoint presentation, and basically the PowerPoint presentation is what's in the ordinance. I don't know if you've had a chance. We have copies of the ordinance over there. If you haven't had a chance to review the ordinance, now is the time. And what you're going to be seeing from the PowerPoint are it's what's in the ordinance. And I would also request if you want to come up and provide your input or comment, or even if you don't want to do that, but you have something, a comment, we have some yellow slips over there that you can, if you want to speak before here at the podium, or if you want to just give us your comments about the ordinance, that would be fine too.
Quick question. So, does the BCC came out with some new rules last week, or does the ordinance reflect the new, the new laws? I guess the updated laws as of last week.
The current ordinance was written about a month ago, so probably not. Now, the city attorney is also assisting us in drafting the ordinance. So if something new come up, I'm sure it's gonna be included. Okay. Okay, so again, we want to make this a very productive meeting, but we also don't want to be here all night. So what we're going to do, we're staff presentation, I've already mentioned. Also, we have Angel and Christian from the planning department and Yvonne taking notes over there. We're going to go over the background, how the city council gave direction and the reason we're here tonight. We're also going to go over the main highlights of the ordinance, and then through the application procedure, and then the future tests. And then we're going to allow for comments. So just briefly, as you probably all know, the city council has been considering whether to allow commercial cannabis uses in the city of El Centro. And back in November of 2019, staff received direction to move forward and draft an ordinance, which is what you have before you. And basically what the ordinance calls for is city council the direction provided by the city council was to allow 2 storefront retail uses. And prohibit all other kinds of cannabis licenses such as distribution, testing, laboratory, non-storefront, retail, and micro businesses. And I know some of you here, because you guys have come to the counter at City Hall, are interested in other uses. So, but basically what we have through the ordinance is only the storefront retail uses. Also, as part of the ordinance, the direction we received from City Council was to also, with the help of the City Attorney, we'll be drafting a measure, excise tax measure to be placed on the ballot for 2020. But what we're here for is just to go over the ordinance. Again, the proposed ordinance prohibits non-storefront. I know a few of you have asked about just having delivery, non-storefront. At this time, it's prohibited. It also prohibits cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and micro businesses. Now, the location requirements at this time, what we are proposing is to allow these types of uses under the heavy commercial, general commercial, tourist commercial, and the light manufacturing areas. Now, keep in mind that with that comes, we have some buffer for sensitive uses, and those uses are residential parcels, schools, parks, daycare, and youth centers. Now, the ordinance calls for a maximum of 2 commercial cannabis business permits will be allowed. However, the city council has the authority if additional commercial cannabis business permits to issue additional permits. These are just some of the requirements. I don't want to go through the whole criteria. Once we have the application packet will have all the criteria, but just these are the main requirements. Basically, on-site consumption is prohibited. Signage, there's going to be some standards for signage. Also, requirement as required by state to report and tracing of the cannabis products. Obviously, you're going to have to comply with all the state requirements, implement odor control features, business licenses, and so forth, security, safety. So what we're proposing to do is the application process will be done in 4 phases. The first phase would be a Phase 1, which would determine the eligibility of the applicant. So what we would do is the application would be just to review. We would review the application for completeness and also conduct the necessary background checks for the proposed business or the applicant who will be applying. Now, if under Phase 1, if the application is incomplete, we will send it back to you and give you 30 days to submit a complete application. If the complete application is not submitted within 30 days, then your application will no longer be valid. Phase 2 is for those who have gone through the Phase 1 application process. Phase 2 basically would be staff will evaluate all the applications, and based on the criteria that will be called within the application packet. And these are some of the criteria: safety and security, business plans, location of business, and so forth. Now, once you finish Phase 2, Phase 3 would be that the top applications will be reviewed. If interviews need to be conducted, by the Community Development Director and the Chief of Police. And finally, Phase 4 would be the successful applications will be recommended for approval to the city manager. Okay, so there's no public hearing requirements. It's not a CUP, it's a permit, a business license cannabis permit. Any questions so far?
Compatibility mean?
Well, basically, location means a lot. Is it compatible with the surrounding uses? For example,
Well, based on the location requirements, that's pretty much the east side, industrial, commercial side of town. So I don't, part of that would not be compatible.
I'm sorry, based on the commercial requirements?
The zoning requirements for the location.
Okay.
That's pretty much on the east side of town, about, 4th Street and further east?
No, actually, general commercial, we have a lot of general commercial along Imperial Avenue, 4th Street. We also have tourist commercial. What's mostly on the east side, I think what you're referring is heavy commercial and the light manufacturing. So I know that there's some concern about the 1,000-foot buffer because that basically diminishes the available locations. So that's something that staff is exploring, and we may go back to city council to recommend maybe reducing that buffer, so.
I think really with zoning requirements and the neighborhood struggles to find anywhere acceptable.
I'm not sure I
I
understand.
mean, like, in, find a place that satisfies the zoning requirements, narrows.
And that's why we're looking at reducing the buffer zone areas, because it's 1,000, yeah, we're working on a map, and the preliminary map that we came up with the 1,000-foot buffer zone, it's very limited. The areas that are allowed are very limited. So it's something that we need to go back and take another look, and maybe with your help, and we'll go back to city council and maybe recommend changing that.
Who did, again, if you can repeat, who did you say would be that?
It would
city
be by,
council or
no,
staff?
staff. It would be staff. It would be scored, the applications will be scored, there's by criteria, and that will be part of the application package, so you'll know exactly how many points you can get for security plan or whatever, you know. But yeah, it's gonna be by point system. And what we're proposing, our tentative schedule is hopefully gathering the comments we received tonight, reviewing those comments, maybe if we need to incorporate them into the proposed ordinance. We're hoping to take this ordinance to Planning Commission next month. And then either February or March, we would go to City Council with a cleaned up ordinance with maybe comments incorporated into the final draft. And if it's approved in March, if City Council approves the ordinance in March, we should be able to start taking applications in May. We're gonna have a 30-day window to submit applications. So we'll announce it, we'll put it on social media, we'll make sure that people are aware that the application period has opened. And between June and July, we'll review those applications and maybe issue permits by July, maybe August. So that's a tentative schedule. Of course, things can change if we get behind in one of those aspects, but that's our tentative schedule. Any questions?
Will your scoring criteria be online?
Yes,
Okay.
everything will be online. Once it's approved by council and we get the go-ahead, everything will be online.
Is all this online right now?
What's online right now is the draft ordinance. Yes,
And that's all?
yes. And Cityville Central website under cannabis or under community development and then cannabis.
It is cannabis.
Any other questions before we open the podium for comments? Okay. Mhm.
Loaded to legalize it because I vote no on this. And I don't think, about the junkies, they don't think about making them preach. Already.
Would you mind submitting that yellow slip and just so we can have it on record? Oh, okay. We don't have a portable microphone? Okay. Yeah, I was just advised that because we are recording this, Spectrum is recording. If you have a comment, please come up to the microphone because it cannot be picked up, okay? Someone else had another comment? Can you come to?
Have any recommendations for changes that we want to know on the ordinances? Who do we submit that to?
You can submit it to Community Development
Okay,
Department
okay.
and email me, or if you,
Would they be considered?
definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
we would, basically what's gonna happen, all the comments that we receive, we're gonna go back to council and say, this is what the people want.
Right. Okay.
And, okay. Yeah, but definitely if you can submit it as soon as possible, so we can finish the draft.
Okay. While I'm up here, should I?
Yeah.
Would you like me to wait? I can wait since you have everything up here.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and do, I know she has a brief presentation. If you want to introduce yourself, maybe come on this side and introduce yourself.
You pull up the presentation?
Yeah, I'm going to pull it, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Betsy. I'm from the Imperial Valley Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and I came here to introduce a little bit about what it is we do and what we are and who we are. I also did a quick petition form this past Saturday in regards to this meeting, just to get a poll of how many people were in favor of City of El Centro continuing with their draft ordinances. We had,
Do you have?
yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So this is the petition, and we had 42 people on that petition sign that paper. So it was kind of nice within the 3-hour frame that I went ahead and did that to get that many people to approve or support the adult use cannabis activities. We also did a form on our website, and I received 3 forms, but 2 were submitted by El Centro residents. One of them is a CBD business wholesaler, and the other one had a comment and said that cannabis can be really helpful in our community, especially for those of us dealing with different traumas on our body that prescription drugs can't help with. Yeah, so we had 2 submissions on our website for that. So, Imperial Valley Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, it's for the hemp and cannabis community. We are a, let's see, we're a balanced of experienced board members, and we are also supporters and cannabis and hemp business professionals. Let's see. Because we're a chamber, and in the cannabis or hemp industry, we also felt that it was necessary to do some advocacy work because of the stigma that's attached to hemp and cannabis. So advocacy is one of the things that we'll be providing for the chamber, apart from networking opportunities that a normal chamber has. All of this information is on our website. So we feel that uniting the hemp and the cannabis community and industry will reignite regional economic growth and address public health concerns. We have a strategic plan. What we envision is an active and organized hemp and cannabis community. And our vision encompasses a little bit of everything: economy, community, education, advocacy, lobbying, and legitimacy. Our mission is to use our collective voice to create awareness and advocate for both the hemp and cannabis community, the industry, and ancillary businesses with efforts to enrich local economy and address public health concern. So you can find all this information on our website at ivcannabischamber.org, but we have our core values there as well. Oh, that encompass empowerment, integrity, and the community. We have goals within the chamber as far as the advocacy part goes and the chamber-related activities go. I want to keep this under 3 minutes for you guys so everyone has a fair... let's see, we have our short-term goals there, and our short-term goals are going to be based off of when we incorporated, which was August of 2019, all the way up until today. Been able to achieve some of those goals already. And right here we have our executive board. Some of the people on that executive board, you might recognize their names. That's me, I'm the founder. I'll skip that one. Okay, so an impact report as far as when we incorporated to today. So we incorporated in September of 2019. Then right after that, we attended the Imperial County Hemp Expo, where we received a lot of positive feedback from the community. We were in our element there that day, so we were very warmly welcomed. Then we got our business license in the city of Calexico on October of last year, which we are very grateful for. We all know that the city of Calexico is leading the path to all cannabis business activities over there. Then we got banking the 23rd of this month, so we're really proud to finally found banking. Transparency is everything in this community, the business community. Let's see. So we did a quick impact. No, this isn't the impact report. This is the so the sign-in sheet that we had at the Imperial County Hemp Expo. We had different types of businesses looking to get involved in the industry, whether it was ancillary, retail, distribution, extraction, cultivation, advocacy, or other. And those other probably just didn't state it on the sign-in sheet, but there was a lot of interest shown that day. We want to go ahead and thank Imperial County for allowing us to have that Hemp Expo event over there. I say we, probably because I was a sponsor that weekend. But we also want to thank the Imperial Valley Economic Development for hosting that event. It was very warm welcoming for the hemp and cannabis community. City of El Centro, thank you guys for having us here today and having us do a presentation for you guys. And the City of Calexico, because they're the ones that gave us the business license. Thanks. And what else do we have? So the impact report is also going to have a little bit of the numbers from our web traffic. From the day we had our website up, which took place a little bit after that Imperial County Hemp Expo event. And the numbers are right there, and it shows that, the community and in the numbers that it's creating a lot of interest and a lot of, what else? Yeah, people, there's a community of hemp and cannabis all encompassed into one, and everyone's interested and everyone's here to support, I hope. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
I do have a question. So one of the, as we know, in California.
Okay, can you comment so we're being recorded? Yeah.
I'll just stand up if that's okay. So we know, I'm a local healthcare provider, been in healthcare here for 20 years. One of the issues that, the reason I got involved in cannabis, I have a hospice that we use cannabis. But one of the things I brought up to the health department We know the state issues of government, you can get a card either as a caregiver or as a patient. What I'd like to see a little bit more of is education. So there is a lot of myths about cannabis. It obviously has its place and its use. So I'm really hoping, and this is something I brought up to the local health authority as well, and I'm actually meeting with them next month to discuss some education, because as we know, cannabis does impact your system. Everybody's different, and we also need to have some education on, if you are taking certain medications, hoping, I am an advocate of cannabis, but I'm just really hoping that we can.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments to be? Oh, yeah. Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Efrain Silva. I'm the mayor of El Centro, and I really want to thank you for being here with us today. As you know, the city of El Centro has been discussing, the council has been discussing the possibility of allowing dispensaries in the city of El Centro. We have not made a final official council vote yet, but we are in an exploring stage. We are in the public input stage. The fact that all of you guys are here today tells me that you have something to say, because you're here and you have an interest one way or the other. So please, I encourage you to speak to us, let us know what you think, the input that you provided, because one of the things that Ms. Villacaña is working on is to develop a draft ordinance that will establish the rules, the parameters, the regulations that the council will in the future consider for adoption. So your input is very, very important. If you are here in opposition, you're also, please, you have a forum to speak up. It's also important that we hear from you. But so, again, the time that you're taking, the fact that you're taking time on a beautiful evening here in El Centro tells me that you are interested in this issue one way or the other. So I encourage you to please tell us what you think. Okay? Yes, ma'am. I got here late. I apologize. So I don't know what process we're using.
They're recording and they can't hear.
Okay. I'd also like to recognize our Mayor Pro Tem, Jason Jackson, who's in the audience, listening to you guys as well.
Okay, I have I'll go ahead and start calling the people who submitted slips. I have Peter Gutierrez. Oh, thank you. It's, I don't know, he's the one. If you want to turn around and.
Camera? That camera? All right. How's it going, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen.
So my name is Peter Gutierrez. I am the owner and creator of Quest for Fire. We're a delivery service here in El Centro. The way the ordinance is written right now, it's not looking good for us. We want to change it a little bit. We want delivery services. We have a premise. Last year, we started the state application process back in August. We came to the end of the application in December. You know, it's a long application process. We thought we were never going to finish it. They sent an email to the city saying, all we need is local authority to proceed. This is the final step in the application process from the Bureau of Cannabis Control. So right now, as the ordinance looks, they're only going to allow 2 dispensaries. I see a lot of people here that they want their dispensary open too, and two's not gonna be enough. We don't wanna be on a waiting list, and Calexico, they have a waiting list. We don't wanna be on a waiting list. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's set up so the walk-in is connected to the delivery service. Now, this doesn't work for us. We are solely delivery. We have an advantage over walk-ins because, I mean, we don't need a security guard. We have less chances of being robbed. We don't deal with the customer directly. We have our premise, it's ready to go. We're just looking for the permission from the license, that's it. Come a long way, you know, I've come a long way. I've spent many years in the field. I know what I'm talking about. I am the most qualified, you know, for this job as is. Please allow me to continue to chase my dreams. Please allow me to have my delivery service. Thank you, guys.
Mary Salazar?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I myself is the Planning Commissioner of Calexico, and I've been a public servant since 2013. I'm also involved with the steering committee for the Air Pollution Control Board, which I will be specifically talking about this up in Sacramento next week. Only just for the facts that you, sir, were saying about education. It is so new, everybody gets scared, and I understand the lady over here that there is a stigma behind the cannabis. But I'm going to tell you this one thing, that medicine is not the answer all the time because it does harm, it has adverse effects. I myself became a case study for here in California, not realizing that I would somehow have a toxic chemical in my body. And the only thing that could help me, because my doctors told me, there's nothing we can do for you. I'm in the beginning stages, and this started last year. I could have died. I'm very fortunate to be here in front of you today. And I am a fierce advocate for this. Because if it weren't for a certain person that's here that supplies me with hemp, I'm able to walk, I'm able to function, I have no pain. There's another council member that also had a bad accident. Medication wouldn't do it, otherwise you don't function, you can't get up in the morning. And it really does do a lot of good. We have to see and open our eyes for those particulars that it's not about getting high, it's really an issue that medications are expensive, it's killing you somewhere or the other, it's going to do it. I am so for it, and I'm agreeing with you that they put so many restrictions that it makes it too expensive, and it's not going to be, you know, available to people that are on a very, you know, medium income. It's not something to make it expensive. You have to open your eyes because things have to change. And I'm here because those hemp and cannabis is keeping me alive here. Thank you so much.
Celia Arguiles, do you want to?
My name is Celia Arguelles. I live in Imperial, up in the country. I have a little farm there for orchard, and I always I work with kids. I work at a cafeteria school, Central High School, retired now. And I see the kids that they find a way to find, you know, to buy things illegal. And I think this is not going to be different. The kid is going to get away with it anyways. And I think that this is my opinion. That when they get business with this kind of thing, is because they want to get rich very quick, you know? That's my opinion. So, like I say, I'm very upset about this all business. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gary Medalick?
Good evening, Gary Metelsky, 1840 Rodeo. Too close? Rodeo Drive, Imperial.
Maybe this one.
Okay, do I gotta press, hello?
No, it's
on. Okay, a couple technical notes, basically, and this is to staff. Section 13-160, subsection 4, where you guys want the name, address of employees and the reason that they were fired or resigned. This is an HR nightmare. People resign due to sexual harassment, and he said, you know, you're fired, I quit. I don't think the city should be getting into HR matters, why people resigned or fired. You could ask for work history, but this is just a lawsuit waiting to happen. Could you check with the city attorney? That just seems that you're opening up for liability, why somebody resigned or was fired. He said, she said. I don't think you want to get into that. And my question too for staff, for what ends was that put in? It don't make no sense to me. What was the purpose of that? Or was it just copied off a template? The other thing, on page 27, section 5, in regard to advertising, basically with any business that opens up, you want to help them out to succeed. Limiting them from advertising is definitely a constraint on business. If you go to any business school, they're going to teach you marketing and advertising, yet you're going to say, no, you can't advertise on billboards or anything else. Just to make how hypocritical this may be, I'm driving around and I see Marsh and Ash, Marsh and Ash, Marsh and Ash. You would put the El Centro business at a competitive disadvantage. Obviously there's reasons that you want this in there, but to handicap the business to go against Marsh and Ash, I think it would be best to leave it alone. A comment on somebody said about education of patients, and it's very interesting. I'm a pharmacist, and there's a new field in pharmacy regarding marijuana, how it interacts with hepatic enzymes, how it affects other drugs. If somebody's looking for medical information on cannabis, I don't think they should get it from a bud tender. They don't have the education, they don't have the experience. And even most pharmacists, I hate to say it, 90% of pharmacists don't know this, but there are some pharmacists who've actually educated themselves in this matter. There's at least 65 known interactions between prescription drugs and cannabis, mostly through the liver enzyme system. I love the idea of education, but I think it should be done with somebody who knows what they're doing. And to prove what you're doing, you need education, i.e. a pharmacist or a medical doctor, and experience in the field. So if the city decides to go that way, please don't let bud tenders give advice. One other thing, and maybe the police department could comment on this. At one time, everybody thought these dispensaries were going to be really lucrative and profitable. And I think as we find out, and Gavin Newsom says, 60 to 70% of the business is the black market. The more you tax, the more restrictions you put on, the more you help the black market. I cannot emphasize enough that one of the causes of the black market, and Gavin Newsom said this, is outrageous taxes. It reminded me of the cigarettes on the East Coast many years ago. On the Indian reservation, there was no tax. Retail, there was huge tax. You got crime, you got fraud. So please consider reasonable taxes, because the more you tax, the more you push the business to the black market, and that's just a fact. Oh, and the last thing in regard to zoning, the smaller the zoned area, it's going to be a jackpot for certain landlords. They're going to be able to charge ridiculous amounts for space, Right now, commercial space goes $1 a square foot. You know, when Marsh and Ash opened up in Imperial, they were paying $30,000 a month rent. That's ridiculous. That's a jack. You don't want to make winners and losers. You want to make it a fair game. By basically having a very small zoned area, you're basically setting yourself up for a small amount of landlords to take economic advantage of this. And then again, it's going to put the cannabis business at a disadvantage, paying a huge amount of rent. That's not cost effective for a new business. So I would hope expanding the zoning would be a good thing for a lot of things. It would prevent landlord gouging. It would allow more opportunities for other businesses to try for a spot. When you have small amount of land that's approved for this use, it becomes cutthroat, and it's quite ugly, actually. So I would hope that the city would avoid that. Thank you very much.
Mr. John Gillespie? Yeah, okay. And those are all the slips I have. Does anyone else want to provide input or comment? Come in, and if you can fill one of these later. Before, okay.
I didn't see any on the way in.
Okay.
Over in the corner?
With that.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Marty Ellett, resident here of the El Centro. I work at the hospital in the emergency room. A couple of points. I'm really tired of hearing about 99% of marijuana use, which is recreational, hiding behind the 1% of legitimate medical use. I'm recognizing legitimate medical use. I was a hospice nurse. I know what it's like, you know, having dying people in front of you and trying to help them. I know all about that. I'm acknowledging this medical use. But I'm so tired of hearing that we need to have this because of medical use. Medical marijuana use right now is being delivered to people's doorstep right now. We don't need to hide behind that. We're talking about people that want to smoke dope and get high. I want to be clear about this. It's not about medical use. Medical use is already taken care of. Thank you, mija. Thank you, madre. Muchas gracias. The other thing, I have a great article here, Lessons Learned After 4 Years of Marijuana Legalization in Colorado and Washington. I'm not going to go through the whole article for you. It's on the internet. It's easy to get. It's full of studies, and they're all cited. I have the citations in the back. And it's all bad. It's all bad. Bad for health. It's bad for hospitals. It's bad for young people, especially of color, Hispanics and blacks. Young people, meaning 12-year-olds to 17-year-olds. It's bad for them because they get arrested more. It's bad for the younger people than that, younger than 12 years old, because they get in trouble and they end up getting arrested. It's all bad. I want you to please take the time, look it up yourself if you don't believe me. It's all cited. It's all bad. One of the worst things I want to bring up, in the interest of time, is the homelessness. If you think homelessness is bad now, it's only going to get much, much worse. Before I go on to that, I just also want to mention, like, people that test positive at work and work-related accidents go skyrockets. People that drive while being high, skyrockets. Fatalities in auto accidents related to marijuana skyrockets when you legalize marijuana. But back to the homeless thing. I just feel like, you know, in the city, by the way, these ordinances that we're discussing now, I think are very appropriate. There needs to be safeguards. I think they're very appropriate. I would not want to see the city to back off because more people want to sell marijuana. The only thing good about, I don't want to say good, but the only thing positive like in this thing is, the money that people make. And that's really what I think that most people in here are interested in, is the money that they think they're going to make. Well, that's free enterprise. I mean, I'm sorry that it's here, very sorry, because whatever we make, we're gonna spend more than that in social services or police and fire and hospital and mental health and all the other services. But again, the homeless thing. I think that if the city, this is my input, the city, if they tax this maybe 10%, which may be being proposed, that's like the typical tax is 10% imposed by the city. That's typical. So the city's going to make some money. I think that the city ought to use about half of that money to help the people that are hurt the worst, and that's going to be women and children, because the guys are going to be out on the streets using drugs. There's going to be more dropouts from high school, and then just because I see it, with the people that I work with, my wife works with, she's on a shift right now at the Real Hope Center, but that's the people that we see day in and day out, and all the damage that drugs bring, including marijuana. So I really 100% against this, but because it's legal and it's coming to our city, I want to support the ordinances, and I want to encourage the city to use the money, the revenue, to help the people that are hurt the worst, as women and children. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions before we wrap it up? No? Uh-huh. Yes. Come over here, please. One of the slips later. Okay.
I just had a comment as to what he was saying. Brianna Castro, resident here of El Centro. I think that if we're talking about cannabis use and THC and CBD, alcohol is legal. And how many people die of alcoholic-related accidents? My father died. Cirrhosis of the liver because he was an alcoholic. Alcohol has more, I think, of the same adverse effects. And alcohol is legal. You can buy, everywhere. Kids, alcohol poisoning. I have 3 grown girls. One drank excessively during her senior year of high school. I had one that uses marijuana. Marijuana did not lead her into worse drugs. And so far, there's been no adverse effects health-wise. Alcohol, I had to drag my daughter in the house unconscious, and that is terrifying. So I think that what the health professional said, educating people, and obviously putting in ordinances and rules because we need them, but I don't think that cannabis or THC or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, is necessarily the worst thing in the world. There's prescription drugs that our kids are doing, that they are ODing, fentanyl, Oxycontin, Xanax. It's like, and these are legal drugs. So while I agree with some of it, I just had to say that I just don't feel that this is, gonna just bring the city down or make it worse. A lot of the homeless here in El Centro, they're not smoking marijuana. They are doing much harder drugs. I'm just, and that's just my opinion. So I've seen it from both sides. Thank you.
Again, on behalf of the city council, Mr. Jackson that's here with us, I want to thank you for being here. I believe that if anyone wanted to provide additional input on the provisions of the ordinance, that they can probably submit that in writing to you or some other mechanism. But the council is slated to have a council meeting on February 25th here in the council chambers, where we anticipate taking some kind of formal vote on the matter. So you have a little bit of time. So we encourage you. We want to hear from you. The council, all 5 of us on the council have our best interests in mind when it comes to the city. On this particular issue, I think there's a differences of opinion, and that's okay, that's healthy. But let us not in any way question our intent and what we believe is in the best interest of the city of El Centro. And your input would be incredibly important. So good night. Thanks everybody for being here. And again, we encourage you to submit additional comments if you find the time and you find it necessary. So good night. Buenas noches.